So to recap once again, the xylem is transporting the flow of water, nutrients against gravity, going from root to shoot. So it's going against gravity. How does it achieve this? Ultimately, it achieves this by simple concepts that we have discussed because of the importance of H2O, water. Let's go ahead and look at each step. So step one actually occurs at the very top because we do have xylem going from bottom to top, but at the very top, we actually have an event that needs to start first in order to achieve that water going against gravity. And what I'm discussing really is that water needs to go ahead and be let out. So we have an influx of water going towards the leaf, if you will, and this is known as xylem sap, that water nutrient component of that transport vessel. And we actually have water exiting the leaf. It's leaving the leaf in order to allow space for new water, new nutrients to enter. And so it leaves through an opening of the leaf known as the stoma. So I can actually see these H2O, these tiny little H2O molecules in this cartoon leaving in the first step. This is called transpiration. So the leaf transpires and water exits. It's dehydrating itself in order to allow new movement to occur. Step two, in order to achieve this movement against gravity, is adhesion. So what I mean by adhesion is the water molecule itself. There's H2O, large oxygen, two little hydrogen atoms to make up that H2O. It adheres to the cell wall of the xylem. I can actually see that H2O molecule sticking to that cell wall. So that way, that stickiness, it can actually kind of roll along that cell wall of that transport tube. It's adhering. Step three is synonymous with step two, in that remember that water likes to form hydrogen bonds with nearby neighboring water molecules. There's a hydrogen bond being shown here as a dashed line. You'll always see hydrogen bonds being formed that way from an adjacent hydrogen atom of one water molecule to the adjacent oxygen, electronegative oxygen of the next water molecule. That bond is enough in order to allow it to help pull its neighbor. So if this one is getting moved along the xylem, it's going to help pull along its neighbor. Think of a rope. It's an imaginary rope that helps pull it along the xylem as well, going against gravity, which that neighbor, water molecules in turn, pulls along its neighbor due to hydrogen bonding, and it continues on in that rope-like fashion. This is called cohesion by hydrogen bonding. Step four, the last process in order to achieve this movement against gravity has to do with the water uptake from the soil. New water moves in through these root hairs being absorbed in those high surface areas of the root system of the plant. It moves through the tissue, the xylem in this case, and then more water enters the vascular tissue and will achieve those other steps that we discussed, cohesion and adhesion, and transpiration at the very top of that shoot area. So biologists call this explanation for the ascent of Xylem Sap. So sap is going to be located inside the tube. So we have water and nutrients in the xylem, again, going from root to shoot. This is the cohesion tension hypothesis of how this movement is achieved. If you'd like to see it in text format for what I just discussed. So transpiration is a part of the cohesion tension hypothesis. How do plants transpire? Well, we have those mouth porous areas of the leaf called the stomata, and the stomata actually has different events that help it open and close. So maybe they want to lose more water, then they're going to open. Maybe they want to retain their water, then they're going to close. It depends on the plant and the environment that that plant is located in. And transpiration can be controlled in this way, whether they want more water moving into their system, less water moving in. So something called guard cells, as we can see here in this leaf, controls this opening in the stoma. Here's carbon dioxide entering, water loss occurring during the daytime. We can see it more open. Well, at night, we can actually see that stoma closing, which is going to prevent water loss from occurring. So guard cells are a way through the stomata that plants can control transpiration. Okay, what about the phloem? The phloem is different in that the phloem is different from the xylem in that it's going to transport different things, and it's now going with gravity. We're going from the shoot to the root. So phloem sap then is going to have inorganic ions, amino acids, hormones. Mainly, it's going to have sugar. This is going to be the product of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, remember, recall, it's going to occur in the shoot area, so the leaves, and now we're wanting to bring the product from this area down to the root. The phloem is going to achieve this transport. So basically in the phloem, we have what's called a sugar source. This is where the sugar is produced, such as a leaf, where photosynthesis will occur, and that sugar source brings sugar into the phloem. I can see a high concentration, and just through the process of diffusion, where we have a high concentration to a low concentration, and using gravity, we can actually achieve the movement of sugar into ultimately what's known as a sink cell, or a sugar sink. This is going to occur in the root. And that's where sugar will get transported. We can see that movement occurring in the phloem. This is known as a pressure flow mechanism, and it explains why phloem sap always flows from a sugar source to a sugar sink in various locations of the plant. There's also a relationship, I don't have it highlighted, there's also a relationship between the xylem and the phloem using osmosis in order to control pressure differences. They're tightly connected with just a single barrier here in order to achieve this relationship. And ultimately, what this is going to do is it's going to help diffuse these sugar molecules to help them become highly concentrated or not as concentrated in certain areas.